Welcome to the Live Loving live stream with John Davis. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Live Loving live stream. I see there are 9 of you watching now. I'm sure that I'll grow here in just a few moments. We usually end up with 20 or 30 during the stream, and then it grows to a lot of watchers afterwards. I hope you are doing well. It was a slightly chilly day today, but I am doing great. I had a big plumbing job done in my house today by a very good friend of mine, and so I'm got to spend time with a good friend and get something fixed on my house. So life is good. Life is good. I hope you all are doing well where you are and having a good time. And if you haven't checked out Spirit Made Me Do It's channel, go over there and subscribe, because she's the next big thing that's coming up. So make sure you go over there and do that. Hello, Joe. How are you? Hope you're doing well. I'm very excited that you're here tonight. I wanted to talk about something before we got started today. I had a very interesting experience. I was talking to someone today, and I was reminded of the story of my back injury. And I know most of you have heard my back injury story before, but I wanted to talk about a moment in that story that is something that that we all sometimes do, and it's something that really affects our lives in big ways. You know, when my back injury happened, the doctor started telling me, John, you're never going to walk again. And in that situation, I had to come to the realization that if I took his belief, I would be living his belief and not my own. And by not taking his belief, I went on to do over 4,000 live comedy sword fighting stunt shows and doing all kinds of big things. But oftentimes in our lives, people will tell us things, and they'll give us those beliefs. And those beliefs, if we believe them, are just as creative as the beliefs we choose to create. And we have to stop and take a look at what we're believing, why we're believing it, and where the beliefs came from. You know, when we come into this world, we come into this world as children with no belief. We have absolutely no beliefs when we arrive. And we're given our beliefs, and we get our experiences, and they show us a new belief. And in the Bible, it says, Yeshua says, you must become as a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. And it's a matter of stripping away all of those elements of belief that disconnect you from pure love and consciousness of that ilk, for lack of a better word. But I wanted to just kind of touch in and talk about the idea of where is your belief coming from, and are you taking beliefs of your parents and what they told you to believe? Most people in religions are in the religion because they were told to believe that as a child. So it really is an interesting thing to think about, because a lot of your beliefs are not your own. They are given to you, and they're handed to you, and you live your life carrying forth on those beliefs. I just wanted to talk about that tonight because it seems to be something that keeps coming up in all of the private sessions. They have all these beliefs that were given to them, but they just don't feel right, or they just don't fit what they want to experience in life, and that's a very interesting thing. So let me jump over to your questions and your comments. And Bridget, I see you say, when will your next Several Soul podcast air? Did Alex give you an air date? Alex said that it would be 3 to 5 weeks. Alex is a very, very busy man. When I booked that guest spot with Alex, I booked it in early November, and it just recorded yesterday. And his channel, it was an amazing story. If you want to hear a manifestation story, Alex and I were talking yesterday, and he was telling me his channel is only 1.5 years old, just like mine. He said, John, he says, in October, I had 5,000 subscribers. He says, and then one of my videos just kind of hit. And when it hit, I went from 5,000 to 10,000, and then 20,000. Now he's up to 77,000. He says, you keep doing what you're doing. And Alex and I are really kind of bonded and became very good. It was like we were always friends when we spoke. And he and I are going to do. I'm going to do a reading for him, and he's actually going to tell me everything he knows about YouTube, and so we're kind of doing a swap there. And but we really, we had to cut the interview short because we could have gone on for hours and hours and hours. It was just a great free flowing conversation, and I'm really excited to see it happen, or to see the outcome of it because it really was a very fun, really fun time. So Bridget, you were there at the beginning when he was first on. Yeah, he's a very nice, genuine guy, and it was funny because within the first 5 minutes, he was like, "Yeah, I lived in California, filmmaking, and I used to live in Florida." I said, "Where'd you live in Florida?" He said, "Fort Lauderdale." I said, "You know where Deerfield Beach is?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I was the entertainment director of the Renaissance Festival in Deerfield Beach." He said, "No way!" So we had a great time. We truly did have a lovely time. So I don't want to make this on my stories of what's going on with me, but I want to talk about what's happening with you and what questions and topics you have. So, whatever topic or question you'd like to dive into, just reach out. By the way, you notice that this will be the first time on camera you've seen me wearing this shirt, and the reason is if I wear this shirt in front of that green screen, I am just a floating head. So this is the first time you've seen me in a green shirt ever, except for maybe the back deck. First time in the studio in a green shirt because this is a real backdrop as opposed to a green screen. So what questions do you have, my friends? What topics do you want to talk about? And what stories do you want to tell about things that are happening to you? And let's talk about, some of your own spiritual things as well. Oh well, thanks, Marcy. I like green. Green to me is a very soothing color. It very much is. It reminds me of when I worked my way in college. I worked my way as a landscaper, so yeah, it gives me gives me the feeling of being in nature in my green shirt. So, um, who else has joined us? Anybody else that I haven't said hello to yet? I see we've got 11 watching now. So if you're just tuned in and it's your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. And well, if you are new, this hour of time is literally for your questions and topics. What questions might you have for me? And I will just answer openly. I never hold anything back. I freely share, and I'm an open book. So if you have any questions or comments you'd like to see, please just type them into the chat board over there. And if you're smart like me, you mute everything and then you use your dictation to type. Hey Becky, how are you? Good to see you here. Good to see you here. Um, but anyway, so going back to that idea of if I was if I took that doctor's belief, not only would I be living his life, but I would be in a wheelchair today. And being that I chose not to, I literally went off and did all these amazing, cool physical things. I climbed Mount Sinai and all those things, um, but those limiting beliefs are the thing that I see most people struggle with in life. So, what limiting beliefs do you guys have, and what are you trying to overcome? And let me know. I'm going to take a quick sip, real quick. So I am back. Um, yeah, we don't have any questions coming in. Just think if I can think of another topic to talk to you guys about. Actually have a list, as you guys know, for video suggestions. So let me see if I can go look on our video suggestions and see if we have something over there to talk about while we're waiting for you guys' topics. Uh, Laura, when you say techniques for what? Because if it's, I'm not sure what it is you're trying to achieve. You're going to find very quickly that I am very much about simplicity. And the reason I'm very much about simplicity is because when I had my past life regression, one of the things that came out was it's so simple we have a hard time comprehending it. And that's why I don't call it meditation. I call it sitting in love, because to me, it's just going to that state of belief and that place of release and letting go, dropping the attachments to the world. The Buddha used to say, drop it, release your attachment. And that to me is what it really comes down. Hello there, Teresa from Niles, Michigan. How are you? Good to see you. Where did my beliefs come from? Are different? Where do I? Different from childhood. Where do my beliefs come from that are different from childhood? I remember my thinking changing, but not where the thinking came from. It's a wonderful day when I found you. Well, it's a wonderful day to be found. Thank you so much, Joe, and I'm so glad you're here. Your beliefs will change with your life experiences. As you go along, things are going to just not feel right to you. And I often say that God does not speak to us in our thinkings. He speaks to us in our he/she speaks to us in our feelings. I want to be very clear. I don't think there's a gender in God. I don't think that I think that all people of the world are equal, and I don't think there needs to be a delineation. We're just consciousness here exploring our separation from source. And to me, when I look at the idea of God being of gender, I always think back to the idea of it's a patriarchal society 2,000 years ago, and they were even in the scripture women were subjugated, and so I don't like to put the gender of father on God or mother. I think it's completely equal. I just wanted to say that. But as you grow up, you have experiences and things make you feel good, and you have that feeling, and God's universe, yada yada, shows you that the things that feel right to you. That's the natural discernment we all carry. The life that I want to live is the life that makes me feel like this is right and this is good and I enjoy this. That's that natural discernment we have is an expression. I tell this story about why do cars merge easily with me on the highway? It's because I love driving. And because I love driving gives me reasons to love it. And when you go through life, you find things that you love and things that are beautiful and things that express. It will define your belief. And those feelings that you get that are engendered by those aspects are the feeling of God telling you that this is you. This is your authentic self. This is your expression of not only you, but God. But God as well, because if you are loving it and God is love, then you are loving God into existence when you love to do the things you're doing and expressing love into the world. So loving to drive, God shows you love in return. I love to paint pictures. See? I love to paint pictures. God gives me love in return. I enjoy that process, Lately I've been very much loving building out this video studio behind me. It's just been putting love into it. It gives me that love in return. So to answer your question, why does your thinking change? Because you're actually getting clearer about what you love and the things that feel right to you. And but it comes also down to the idea that spirituality is truly a personal journey. And as you're going through life, you're going to find things that others will tell you you're supposed to believe. And in the end, you might go, oh, that doesn't feel right to me. That's what Catholicism was for me. When my mom said to me, spirituality is a personal journey, and I left Catholicism, it was a very liberating day for me. Because I always felt like I was being judged. I always felt fearful of going to hell. I had all those fears and anxieties. And the day I was told that I get to make that choice for myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do anything. And I can do I can be anything. And so as you go through life, your beliefs are going to change. My mother, my beautiful, beautiful mother over here, right? She she was a devout Catholic with her master's degree in liturgy. But she completely heard everything I said, and we had deep conversations, and she was always encouraging me to go out and, help people heal, help people come to that faith of healing within themselves. And she would always ask me, how's that going? Is that, and when she went to her priest and she said, Father, I'm worried about my son. He said, don't discount it. It might be true, right? And that shows you that the priest was having his evolution of belief as well. And it really comes down to the idea of leaning into your discernment and your faith. Took a long time to find similar souls. Yeah, but the interesting thing is you will find people who are like-minded when you set down beliefs that are not your like-minded. You're love-minded, right? Most people will have to come to themselves before people can see them and love them unconditionally. Because each one of us is really here for unconditional love. And being here for unconditional love, the only way people can love you unconditionally is if they see you. And sometimes, if you're not seeing yourself, which is what you're talking about, Joe, and finding new beliefs as they come along, you're finding yourself. And the more you find yourself, the more people in alignment with yourself start to surround you. I often had people tell me, I want to find a soulmate. I want to find a soulmate. I said, well, if you want to find a soulmate, what you're actually looking for is someone who will love you for you. And they go, yes, exactly. I said, well, they can't love you for you if all they can see is your need. So set down need and just live your authentic self. Now, if it's romantic love or just friendship or just people who are like-minded, you still have to be you for there to be no conditions. And the conditions themselves are the detriment. Because if there's a condition, then they're asking you to not be you. They're asking you to meet their conditions. And so in other words, they're not in alignment. And so, in other words, you're going to end up having a tumultuous relationship. Love-minded. Yeah, there you go. Nice. And those souls are not on your channel. Joe, you say that. But you don't necessarily see all the comments that I see either. I very specifically keep certain comments off the channel. There are those who like to come here and judge, and people who like to tell me that I'm a blasphemer, and people who like to scream out to the crowd, to the channel, repent sinners, And I try to not have any of you guys ever see them, because this channel is a safe place to come here and explore your spirituality, your belief system, and the idea of being in that space of coming here and trying to call names and try to tell people that they're sinners and they should repent. No need to ever have you guys see that, because they're trying to sway you to their belief because they feel they need to be right, because they feel powerful in their belief, in the fact that their belief is the only way, and they're trying to sway you because of the fact that you are not, and they're trying to subjugate you into alignment. So when and I love the fact that absolutely you're correct. Majority of the people on my channel, the majority of the people on the channel are just beautiful, loving, caring people who are just looking to bring love into the world and to express love into their lives and live lives of simplicity, just surrounded by love, and people who love them for who they are, and people who they can love as well, and experiences in life that are loving and caring and joyful and free. And it really comes back to that idea of freedom really is being yourself authentically. Freedom really is doing the things you like to do and surrounding yourself with all of those attributes of love. And when you do that, all the like-minded people will come. But we are teeming, absolutely teeming with those people here. You are correct on that one. It's one of the things I'm most grateful for in life. Is I have people every day who tell me they love me, and I love them in return. I love it all. enjoy it so much to feel the love from you and to be able to give love to you. It's just, that's the way the world's supposed to work. Because love is not supposed to stay inside you. It's supposed to be spread out and surround everyone around you. So, what other questions you guys have? Joe, we went on you for a while. Let's see if there's another one out there. And if not, Joe, you can ask another one. So, Joe, let me go back to that thing you said. It took a long time to find similar souls. Did it take you a long time to find your authentic self? Did it take you a long time to break free of beliefs that you've been carrying? You did ask the question about why my beliefs changing, my thinking changing. So, did it take a long time for those things to change? And if so, what were the major changes you make? Did you go from being a staunch person of a religion to something different? What was the shift that you made? And because I'm sure that other people on this channel, I know there's other people on the channel who made the same type of shift. Excuse me. So just let me know. Let me know. Hello, Angie. How are you? Glad. Welcome. Where are you located, Angie? Can see the well, good. I'm glad. I see the love in my face and my voice. People often look at you, maybe get goosebumpy. I'm trying to get close so you can see how you can see that or not. Goosebumps. See my big scar here. I burned myself on working on my Jeep a while back. How did I go? Oh, that's a great question. How did I go to Renaissance fairs to what I'm doing now? Wow, that's an interesting and fairly long story. Hi, Christine. What part of the East Coast? I was originally from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, Angie, and I'm now in Ohio. But my plan is to be back at the beach soon. And when I get back to the beach, I have a big plan of finding a big enough property that I could have gatherings there and retreats there, and have people come down and experience the beach with me and have some really quality time with loving people. So that's something that I'm planning on doing in the future. For lack of a better word, the Live Loving Center. How did I go from Renaissance Fest? So it's a very interesting story because I came from an abusive family. Actually, my father was abusive to me, and both mentally and physically, and that manifested in me being a hello, Sarah, how are you? It manifested me being an introvert to the point where I literally could not speak. I was a couple months into my high school years, and one of the teachers 2 months in still had no idea who I was. And so I was very much a very quiet guy. And then a friend of mine drugged me to a Renaissance festival. And I went to the Renaissance festival, and he forced me to wear a costume, which I actually didn't mind because it was a big Viking costume, full chainmail, a horned helmet, giant battle axe. I was like, yeah. But going there and putting on a character, which I wasn't good at all. Right? I was so shy and quiet. And I put on this character, and I'm a 6'1" man. At the time, I was about 225, and I was big and strong. And the cameras came out, and the people giving me such positive reinforcement. I found a place where I just loved being there, and I just enjoyed being there. And eventually, I worked my way up through the ranks from a patron who went to the festival to a street character who worked at the festival to a stage act and the fight choreographer, and I worked my way up through the ranks. And eventually, the first psychic who told me about my past life was at the festival in Maryland. Actually, I met her in Canada first, but then she came to Maryland as well. And when so I started having really big experiences, and really interestingly enough, the first big spiritual light show aha experience was actually our first Renaissance fair. It was actually a medieval fair that we ever did, was held in a park in New Orleans. And I had my first big spiritual experience there prior to even knowing about my past life stuff. And I suddenly found a tribe, a tribe of people who didn't think I was crazy, who really positively reinforced who I was, what I was, and also when the spiritual things started happening, were right there with me. We're very open to all of it. And I shared a stage with a Hindu man, and he was actually not Hindu himself, but it was the religion he had chosen. You know, he wasn't from India, but he had become a Hindu, and I was surrounded by all kinds of different schools of thought. Very few Christians, but I was surrounded by a lot of Buddhists, you know, Hindus, Wiccans. I heard all kinds of different beliefs. And so the first psychics were at the festival. Then the second psychic was a friend of mine at the Renaissance Festival. And then when I finally really started having all the big collection of experiences, and all the other psychics started coming out of the woodworks, that all happened because I was like the third one. I went to a holistic fair because a friend of mine who worked at the Renaissance Festival had a booth and sold jewelry, and I was there visiting her, and the psychic walked up, grabbed my arm, and told me. So it was like the Renaissance Festival was kind of like the through line for the opportunities to come through. And then when I started having all my astral travel and out-of-body experiences, they were in the campground of the Maryland Renaissance Festival. So the Renaissance Festival was a safe place that I loved. And because it was a safe place that I loved and I could be myself and express myself fully there, it gave me the opportunity to have no fear. And the simplicity of releasing fear. You know, the Buddha says the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. And when you have a place that you are so free and safe, and you can just be you, and live your loving life that way, all of your connection to source becomes very easy. And I learned so much about how to emanate love just by being it. And I would walk through the fairs, and people would turn and look and smile. Of course, I was wearing a funny costume. You know, when you see this body in tights, and it's funny. Let me jump down and see if I've missed anything here. But now, so then what happened was the very first psychic who read for me wrote a book called John of Old, John of New. She still sells that book. I don't get a dime off that book. She decided that I didn't deserve to get a dime off that book for some reason. No idea. But it's still for sale on Amazon. If you ever want to hear the perspective of the John of Old, John of New story, it's on Amazon. It's called John of Old, John of New, The Awakening of an Apostle. And that book took us to the Association for Research and Enlightenment, the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach, Houston, and Portland, Oregon, Unity churches all over the U.S. and Canada, metaphysical centers. We were traveling all over the place, and I was still doing Renaissance festivals as well. And then what eventually happened was it came down to I would go to these places to speak year after year and do private individual sessions with people, specifically to awaken them to their own divinity and their own value and empowerment. And when I'd come back a year later, they'd come in and they'd have the same issues. And I realized that they weren't there because of raising into their own empowerment and divinity. They were there because this guy was the Apostle John in a past life, right? Which I still to this day don't know what reincarnation is. So, and I've discussed that before, but I really felt that I was becoming their crutch and and it was a detriment to their own empowerment. So I stopped doing it. Focused on my Renaissance festivals, did that. Eventually, going from Renaissance festivals to corporate speaking, and kept getting called to do spiritual work, and kept denying doing spiritual work, and then the miracle of COVID-19 happened, which when your job is to go into small rooms with lots of people and speak for an hour and a half, um, that career kind of went away during COVID-19. But it was right after that happened that I met Tamra Zoner and I put together the Spirit Cafe podcast, which I've now handed off to her. On that channel, I interviewed Kim Carey from Intuitive View, who instantly was like, "John, I need to interview you." And she lovingly, what a lovely person she is, Kim Carey, lovely, lovely person. She gave me the opportunity. She said, I want you to come onto my channel and do an interview about reincarnation, and you can say as little or as much as you want. You don't have to come out at all." Because at that point, I wasn't bringing it out. I wasn't talking about who I was. And I asked the source. I do my own writing too. Is this time to do this again? And I was told flat out, it's time to come back to the work. And there are several really miraculous stories that came around that. But she interviewed me on the interview went live on September 10th, September 11th, last year and a half ago. I had suddenly had 300 subscribers on a channel that I had started the day before. And it just grew from there. See, Sarah, you were probably right there at the beginning. It's only been a year and a half. And I am so happy to be back doing this because in the corporate world, what I was doing was I was teaching all the empowerment stuff. I was teaching everything I talk about, but I had to frame it in a corporate vocabulary. So I couldn't authentically be myself. I couldn't talk in the way that I would talk because you don't talk love in the corporate world. You talk achievement, you talk goal setting. And so I ended up just being teaching, but not really being authentic. And when I came back to do this work a year and a half ago, it was so freeing to be able to suddenly go, I can just say what I want to say and really express love in the way that I want to express it, and I want to share it. And my goal in life is really to share what my buddy taught. And what he taught was that you are the same as he. You are divine. You have all the abilities that he does. It's just a matter of believing it. And most people have a hard time believing it. Most people, because they've been told that they're wretches and they're born in sin and all these various things that they're told throughout life. And in reality, they have this belief. They make these prayers that they don't even know they're praying when they make the prayer. I am really struggling. Well, God's name is I am. And if you're declaring struggle with God's name, whatever you ask in God's name is granted. If you have faith, well, your faith is totally in that struggle. And so it really comes down to the realization that you are already one with God, and you are already connected to God, and you are already creating every moment of your life. And as I often say, you are the inspiration and the outcome. God is the paint, the paintbrush, the canvas, and all the things you need to create the beautiful image. But the image comes from your belief and your inspiration. And it's a matter of saying, okay, God and I are co-creating, and I get to choose what I'm creating because that's what was promised. Whatever you ask is granted. And so it's a matter of coming to that space of not seeking God, but acknowledging God's already there, and God is always there at the bottom of every breath you take. And right there, you are experiencing it. Hello, SM. I hope you're doing well this evening. Um, so, what other questions do you have? You need Viking pictures? I can actually provide Viking pictures. Interestingly enough, yeah, guys, come up with a topic and I'll see if I can find you a quick Viking picture somewhere. Hold on. I don't know if I can this quickly though. Um, I have to dive into my actual photo booth here. Um, I have a whole collection of photos from all over the world, and so I've got to go scrolling through to find Viking pictures. Actually, and I didn't call him a Viking. I called him Darian the Barbarian, which was very funny. Um, but I did a lot. I did a lot of sword fighting shows all over the world. Um, After that, so hold on. How's that for a Viking picture for you? That was me with my dark hair and my beard and big and strong guy. That was a long time ago. So I hope you totally enjoy that picture. I'll see if I can find you a different one as well. Something that's a little more interesting. I one time played the character of Sir Cyril the Chicken-Hearted, and I often joke to you about my long hair. And there's a couple shots of Johnny with his in, in his outfits. um, so yeah, I hope you're enjoying them. And the white hat that you see there, that's actually when I did my USO tours. When I did my USO tours, that hat was it's the national hat of Kyrgyzstan, and I just like the look of it, and so I actually started wearing it, and actually I'm wearing it sideways, but I just like the embroidery on the front because I just thought it'd be a funny hat. But that was me. So I hope you enjoyed the walk down the weird outfit lane. um, I have one shot somewhere, if I could find it, that would show you. You know, I often talk about how I was really in really good shape back in the day. There's one shot that I have somewhere that shows you my look as what I really looked like before I uh, became the big giant guy that you see in front of you in front of you now. I'll have to dig them out sometimes to show you more. So anyway, so I am back. So I hope you enjoyed that walk down there. Let me hop over and see what I'm missing. Wear that every day. um, my favorite coffee. This is going to sound crazy. I know. What's my favorite coffee? I buy organic breakfast blend, whole beans from Sam's Club. Right? And I grind my beans for every pot of coffee I make. And it I've tried all the coffees around here. There's even gourmet coffee roasteries around here. I like this the best. To me, it's one of the best coffees I've ever had, actually. Yes. I'm glad you liked the hat, guys. The hat to me was a very funny hat. So, Bridget, I love this question about the Akashic Records. This is a great question. Um, the idea of the Akashic Records. Edgar Casey said when he was doing readings, he was accessing the Akashic Records. For every, but what is the Akashic Records? The Akasha comes from Hinduism. It's the all knowledge of God, and the Akashic Record is supposedly the all knowledge of God in record form. Um, I believe it's simpler than that. I believe it is just the oneness of God, and releasing your physical world consciousness allows you to tap into the oneness of God or the Akashic records. When I sit down to do private sessions and I do the channel writing an hour before, what I do is I exhale specifically because when you exhale, you're releasing your fears. And so I'm literally dropping all fear with that person's name in mind. Okay, what do they need to hear? And I just start writing. To me, that's drawing from the Akashic records, or as I would prefer to call it, the oneness of God. Um, this the religions all have titles and names and labels of what things are. Um, when you look at the Akashic records, like I say, you're coming from a very Hindu perspective. But when you look at what channeling is, because that's what the people who do Akashic records is, it's channeling. What you have to think of channeling like the origin of the word says it is. A channel is a strip of water between two land masses that attach two larger bodies of water. And, stuff goes up and down through that channel. Now, if you think of one giant body of water as the all knowledge of God, and the other body of water is you down here in the physical experience, when you release your fears and anxiety, which are the cornerstone of the physical experience, they're the things that show you what love feels like, because when you feel the lack of it or the absence thereof, then you get to, it's the only way you can come to know love more fully. But when you stop in the physical and you literally release all stress and anxiety, you're literally opening the channel. And when you acknowledge and know that, you can go, okay, I am writing something that's profound for this person I'm about to talk to. And they write to, Bob Henry, whatever his name is, Susie Sankovovich, whatever their name is. And then just things start to come through, right? If I was Hindu, I would call it coming from the Akashic records. But I have no religion. People are always amazed when I say I'm not Christian. Well, the reason I'm not Christian is because he didn't believe in a Christ. He didn't believe in a Messiah or a Savior. He believed in the equality, and because he believed in the concepts that are more like the Hindu belief of the Sit Sat Ki, which is we are all of the individual sparks within the oneness of God, within the Sit. And so his belief was did not believe in a Christ. So you can't he wouldn't be Christian because he didn't believe in a Christ. Because Christ means anointed one or Messiah or Savior. It's the same meaning. So I hope that answers your question, Bridget, about the idea of the Akashic records, because I think that you have the ability to tap into it at any time. It's just a matter of the word Akashic records is just how the Hindus just define it. So, what are our thoughts on coincidences? What's really interesting about coincidences? Coincidences are fascinating because there's always coincidences. But I find that with all the coincidences in my life, I can always find the things, and I recognize them as coincidences. But I can always find the things that are coming from my belief that shows me the coincidence, right? We'll tell you one of my manifestation stories. I talk about breaking my teeth, broke my tooth off. Was it a coincidence that the lady called me an hour or so later and just happened to be the right person who could get me a new tooth? Sure, it's an absolute coincidence. But what did I say? I was declaring and believing I was getting a new tooth. So we tend to see the things are in alignment. So I really think coincidences are less about something out of our control or something that just happened out of happenstance, and more of it's an unrecognized product of our belief, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. But that's the way I see it. Um, and synchronicities, but synchronicities, coincidence, and if you think about coincidence, the word coincidence means meaning two, you're with somebody else, coincidence, something's happening with two or more involved. So, but if you look at it from the idea, and synchronicities, which the word synchronicities actually derives from linear time. So you're saying we are synchronized. There's a synchronicity. I just tend to think of them as unrecognized manifestations of belief. And the reason we recognize them is because, wow, look, I got that because of this. Well, you were thinking something, and it came to be. In my own personal life, I kind of stopped recognizing coincidence when I really got into the concept that I'm creating. And I started consciously creating rather than subconsciously creating. And then the second thing I did is I gave myself permission to not know how it was going to manifest before it manifests. So I would say, thank you, God, for the blank I am receiving. Amen. And then I'd marvel, what's going to happen next, right? And I watch it happen around me. I watch the things come into play. And had I not been conscious in the fact that I was creating it, I would have thought, wow, look at all those synchronicitous coincidences that are happening. There you go. Use them both. Synchronicitous coincidences. So that's what I think about the whole idea of coincidence and synchronicities. I really do believe that it is it's an unacknowledged manifestation. So you agree with that, eh, Marcy? Hope so. I see the yes down there. Trying to see what else I've missed. Yeah, at some point I'm gonna back to those pictures again. I'm gonna have to show you a shot of John in tights in the old days, just because that will be funny. I really think it. I think your guys are gonna just love it to death. Well, give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can find that shot because I really want to show it to you. Drop it in here. I'm pretty sure it is here. I'll be right there. I promise. I promise. Oh, I hear you guys talking to me. Oh, come on. Oh, maybe I won't find it. Maybe I won't find it. Well, I don't want to waste any more of your time here. Well, hello, Jeanette. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I love the Ren fairs as well. It was absolutely one of my favorite things in life, and I also occasionally was a king at the Renaissance Festival because I had that look, and see if I can find you something like that. I did the Great Lakes Medieval Fair up in Ohio one year, and remember how when Kevin Costner did his Robin Hood Robin Hood movie, he actually had Sean Connery show up at the end. Let's see if I can shrink this down some. There you go. There's my Sean Connery moment right there. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed those moments. There's so many cool pictures that I could show you. And Ren fairs ended up taking me to Iraq and Afghanistan on the USO tours. And when I did those tours, as I've told you guys before, it was all about the soldiers and doing what I needed for the soldiers. But here's the shot that I wanted to show you earlier. Hold on, here it is. Let me this one will make you laugh. This is finally the tights shot that I wanted to show you. So let me see here. Okay, here we go. There you go. How's that for a studly man? Many, many moons ago. Anyway, so let's get back over to some spiritual topics rather than the tight wearing fashion show. What did Jeshua do for fun? You've probably already said at one point, but I missed it. Oh, you know what, Becky? The interesting thing is, Jeshua was always fun. He laughed, he joked, he played with kids. He was always joyful. Another thing that he did for fun was he just enjoyed his wife. He loved her. He loved being around her. They used to fawn over each other, and so he was living a joyful, loving life in all aspects, both amongst his friends and amongst his romantic loves as well. He was really, really very. He was a beautiful person, and in that beauty, part of that beauty was just the fact that he's always having fun. He was always smiling and laughing, and he'd look at you, and you just have to laugh in return. So he just lived his life in a fun way, and that's what he did for fun, was living fully in a fun way. And that's a huge thing for any one of us to do, is to live in a fun way. But he did it in he did it in ways that he didn't have to seek fun, because he just was fun. Here's a shot that you might find interesting. Hold on. Did I lose you? Are you still there? Okay. Here's a shot you might find fun. Let me go back to it again. Oh, I just lost you. No. I was going to show you one of the USO shots that I really thoroughly shows you what it was like to be out there. We were on the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan, and one of the bases we performed on was called Rocket City, and it's because at night the Taliban would attack the base from the Hindu Kush Mountain with rockets, and we performed in tights on their basketball court in the middle of the day, and then at night we spent the night on the base and ended up having nothing really scary happened, but they had us afraid something would happen. There's something else I wanted to show you here too, but I can't. So, as you guys know, I'm a pretty well traveled person. One of the traveling things that I used to do, that I did, was I traveled all through the Holy Land and the Middle East. And when I was on my USO tour, I ended up at this location. And of course, here I am right here. But if you look over to the left there, in the background, that structure you see standing back there is the Ziggurat of Ur. That's the home of the prophet Abraham. It's right next to Al Nazariya, and in Al Nazariya, they actually uncovered what they believe is the home of Abraham. And the site is 25 square miles of ruin, archaeological ruin, and I think it's only 6% of the site has been uncovered. But as you walked around this site, you could see ancient pottery scattered all over the ground. And this man whose back you see to the left that we're all looking at, he is a miraculous hero story, and the reason I want to tell you he's a miraculous hero story is the site of is a site that the Shia and the Sunni have fought over that site for hundreds of years. Because it's got so much meaning to so many different belief systems and that it's something very they've been fighting over it for a year. But that man who was standing there, his family, his family, have been the one thing that has stopped all sides from fighting on that site. They have been the thing that has stopped the damage from continuing and happening. And very brave of him to do that. But think about the idea of being the person standing between two armies and walking away with them not fighting. What a heroic story, right? Oh, Christine, thank you so much for the super chat. These super chats are really so helpful. I mean, they are the super chats, as the channel says, the super chats and the donations and the private readings are the only thing I have for income. It's the only thing that keeps a roof over my head. So thank you so much. It's very, very generous of you. I totally appreciate that. So, Jenny, you said do I recall being desert like it is today? Do you mean from my regression or the city of Because I have no memories from the past life of the city of but I saw lots of greenery and lots of dry land in my regression. But the majority of the greenery was very much tropical kind of greenery, like palm trees and stuff of that sort of nature. I don't know if necessarily, I would assume they're palm trees, but it did very much, like you say, like lots of sand, lots of dirt, lots of greenery, but not necessarily like lush forest or rainforest. I never saw that. And even the one image that I clearly have is sitting on the side of a road, and it was definitely a road. It was a traveled path, and sitting underneath what looked like a lone tree, and just sitting there and eating figs and laughing. It's one of the most beautiful memories I have. It's just sitting there eating figs and laughing, and his wife was leaned into him. That's what the painting that I'm working on right now is from that moment where she's just leaning into him and they're laughing and smiling. So it's really one of those experiences that I'll never forget. But yeah, it was it had a very dry, dusty, sort of deserty feel to it, but there was still a lot of greenery around as well. So I hope that answers your question. So what else here? Anyway, so do we have any other questions, guys? Anything else you want to talk about? I really want to make sure I'm hitting you with with your answers and the things you'd like to talk about. I can come on here and talk all day long, but and I'm so grateful for this computer in front of me that that's why I've decided to do them every Friday night at 8, because you guys have made it possible for me to do them. So I think it would be completely wrong of me not to make it a regular thing. So thank you once again for that. Any more questions? Any more comments? Well, if I don't get any more, I will start to wind it down. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight, even though I forced you to see me in tights. Talk more about what Jesus was like. So, this fellow right here, he's kind of clamped in back there. He was Interestingly enough, he was shorter than I thought he would be. Um, John was taller than him. Um, he was, wow. When you first experienced him, you could feel the love coming from him. You could absolutely feel the love coming from him. And so much so it would take your breath away. If you ever heard my regression, actually, if you go on my channel, there's a video called 2 Moments from My Regression. You hear this moment I'm talking about. You could feel his love as you walked up to him. And as you got to know him as a man, he never called himself the Son of God. He always called himself the Son of Man. And the reason he called himself the Son of Man is because he was a man. He didn't come here from the ethers. No choirs ever sang when he entered a room, right? He was completely of this earth, and that was the point of it, is because being from here, first of all, it's a much better story anyway, but because it just shows us our potential. But he was a man who reached his enlightenment, just like the many other prophets and gurus and the people that you've heard about for centuries. But he was man, he it's hard to even describe him because he you know how you've met somebody who walks into a room and it completely lights up. That's what he did. He'd walk into a room and it would completely light up. He understood his direct connection with God. The Father and I are one. And then he turned to us and he'd say, "Ye are gods." And when you look at the fact that he never wanted to be deified. He never wanted to be put above anybody else. He never, ever wanted to be something to be prayed to. In fact, it's completely against what he taught. His whole teaching, everything he taught was about your divinity and your power and that place in your heart where you are connected with God. Greater works than I've done you will do. It is your faith that heals you. You can ask mountains to move and they will move. Nothing is impossible for you. Right? He never put himself above anyone else, and he never asked anybody else to do it either. And he wouldn't want anybody else to put him above anybody else. His whole thing was about showing us all our divinity. And he did it in a way that was so simple and so sweet. He'd walk into towns and he'd play with little kids and he'd help people carry things, and he was like a servant to all. And people would say, "Oh, please let me know," whatever. And it reminds me of the movie Gandhi. When in Gandhi, he has all the people in the room, and the servant comes in with the drinks, and Gandhi, they're now I'm calling him Mahatma, which means great father, and he's like, and they're talking and talking, and he gets up, and he takes all the tea and all the service away from the servant, and he serves everybody in the room, and lets the servant leave, and he basically is showing, look, he is not a servant. He is a person. He's a human. And Joshua made everyone feel like they were special. Everyone feel like they were divine. And the biggest secret he ever taught is that we are always connected to God. Always. All of us. Every one of us. And it's a matter of us acknowledging it rather than looking for somebody or something outside of ourselves to pray to or to focus on. Kathy, you said, "Am I able to see Mary in the photo that you took of Jesus?" I can't see Mary in that at all. That was a shot of a door in Norway, and all I can really see very clearly is half of his face, looking straight into the camera. What I find fascinating is there's actually a shine in the eyeball, which really stands out. Amazing shot. So anyway, I guess we're winding down. This is supposed to be an hour long, and we're a little bit over. But thank you guys for hanging out tonight, and thank you once again for the super chat. That was very, like I said, very, very helpful. Christine, it gives me the opportunity to keep a roof over my head and to pay for this plumbing I just did. So, but thank you guys for being here tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to finish my drink, and I'm actually going to go hang out with my son, who came home while we were here doing this. You guys have a great night and enjoy your time. Mwah, or as Carol Burnett would say, yank, yank, yank. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you. Bye. Love you all.
Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving live stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and visit us at johnofnew.com.